Hello everyone and welcome to our video message of the week. Yesterday my wife and I managed to visit our grandson, who is coming up to the age of 2. We'd seen him on FaceTime regularly, but seeing him in the flesh was much better. He seemed to be much taller than when we see him on a screen. He is fascinated with cars and anything mechanical, so we decided we'd buy him a present, purchased of course from the Like New shop at church. The present was a lovely red bus with an assortment of buttons on the side and the numbers 0 to 9 and all the alphabetic characters from A to Z. The bus is worked by battery, and when it was switched on he could press any of the buttons to learn what the number or character was. It had lots of other functions including spelling and arithmetic, although he's probably not ready for those yet, as well as being able to play The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round tune for hours. As I was playing with it, as I was explaining how it worked to him, I was struck by one special character. And that character was the modern alphabet's 24th letter, which is of course the letter X. The letter X appears in all sorts of guises in our lives, but I was thinking about 3 uses of that letter in particular. The first use is when we get things wrong in a test. If I wrote down 1 plus 1 equals 3, then whoever is marking the test will put a big red cross through it. But why do we use a cross to show something is wrong? Well, the simplest means of indicating that something is correct is to use a single stroke, hence a tick or a check mark. Striking through the stroke is a simple pictorial means of showing negation, such as the upward line on a no-through road sign, for example. So X is basically a struck-through tick indicating incorrectness. Now that convention is far from universal. In fact, in Japan, a tick means wrong and a circle means correct. But generally a cross means it's something wrong. And our church, Southern Community Church, enjoys the Zoom quiz nights we have. How exciting it is to listen to the answer to a question, put a big tick next to it as we got it right. And how disappointing when we get it wrong and have to put a cross next to it instead. It's particularly annoying when you know the answer but couldn't think of it in time. So an X or a cross shows us when we get things wrong. Another use of the letter X is at the end of a text message to send someone a kiss. It's becoming so familiar that we barely think about it. But how did this letter become shorthand for a sign of affection? Well, the Oxford English Dictionary's definition of the 24th letter says this: the X can be used to represent a kiss, especially in the subscription or at the bottom of a letter. But it's not just letters or notes anymore. We sign off our text messages, emails, and even comments on social media sites with X's. The Oxford English Dictionary's earliest written reference of the cross used as a kiss dates back to 1763 in a letter from the naturalist Gilbert White. In 1894, Winston Churchill also sent kisses in a letter. He wrote, "Please excuse bad writing as I'm in an awful hurry. Open brackets, many kisses, close brackets, XXX, WSC." And there are many theories as to how this came to be. One theory holds that an X looks like puckered lips. Another is that the greater than sign, or right chevron, and the less than sign, left chevron, represents 2 people's lips, and joining them together creates an X. But there's a much more plausible explanation. When Christianity started, the letter X began to represent the cross on which Jesus died before his resurrection. The X has always been a Christian symbol, and it's the first Greek letter in the name of Christ. The X became a symbol of faith and fidelity, and therefore love. And it's thought that the X was adopted as a signature in the Middle Ages, as very few people could write, so documents would be sealed with the symbol embossed in wax or lead, and people would then be asked to confirm their X signature by kissing it, and so the two became synonymous. This became very popular in World War I when soldiers would seal their letters with a kiss when they wrote to their families at home. So using an X in correspondence conveys a special kind of empathy for the recipient. In a world where uppercase letters sound like shouting and where emojis are ambiguous, every element of a text message could be easily misunderstood. And the X serves as a catch-all device, telling your reader that all is well with your relationship. The X shows that you're in this together and that you seek to continue the conversation in a spirit of mutual appreciation. So if X means kiss, why does O mean hug? Well, it was said to be a North American invention. This seems to have a relatively simple reason. X's and O's go together, such as noughts and crosses, and an O looks like a circled arms creating a hug. So using an X shows that we can get something wrong, and it's also a sign of love. Now, what's the best bit on a treasure map? Of course, it's the X, which marks the spot where the treasure is. And using an X can show where something can be found. There are some other examples of that. For example, we have an X as marking ballot boxes to indicate a choice of candidate or position on an issue. Marking places on a map to indicate the centre or crossroad or location of a mountain, as well, of course, marking the spot on a map where presumably a hidden treasure is buried. Marking the scene on a crime in a plan or photograph. Increasingly, we also refer to Generation X, so named because at the time it was the 10th generation, therefore using the Roman numeral X for 10, of Americans since 1776, although it's employed specifically to designate the generation born following the peak of the post-World War II baby boom. What a fascinating letter is the letter X. It can show us that we can get things wrong, it can express our love, and it shows us where things are. And how much that reminds me of the cross of Jesus. Because we get things wrong, and those things sever our relationship with God. This results in a gulf between ourselves and God. And no one is able to cross that gulf as it is too big. Only someone who is perfect could link up with God. Jesus was born perfect and remained perfect. He never did anything wrong. And Jesus' death on the cross was the way in which he made a way back to God. And when Jesus died on the cross, he took the punishment for all the wrong things we have done. He was able to bridge the gap between God and man and so restore our relationship with him. That's a powerful thought. The cross also shows us the love of God to us. The Bible says that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And God knew the only way to restore our relationship together was through the sacrifice of his own Son. And it cost God an awful lot to rescue us, but I'm so glad that he did. The cross also shows us where true treasure can be found. The cross Jesus died on shows us where we can get the best treasure ever, a new friendship with God. And one of my favourite songs is called The Power of the Cross. Written by Stuart Townend and Keith Getty, it shows the amazing power of the cross of Jesus. I'm going to leave you now to listen to it as I sign off. So I pray that God will richly bless you this week and that you will all discover the treasure to be found in the cross of Jesus. Goodbye and God bless. X, X, X.
To see the dawn of the darkest day, Christ on the road to Calvary, tried by sinful men, torn and beaten then, nailed to a cross of wood. This the power of the cross. Christ became sin for us, took the blame, bore the wrath we stand forgiven at the cross. Oh, to see the pain written on your face, bearing the awesome weight of sin, every bitter thought the ground beneath quakes as its maker